It's a reality.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Time for us to go behind the headlines. And we're taking a look today at President Obama's fiscal year 2014 drug war budget. I was hip to this by the Twitter today. I noticed something that Kevin Sabet had to say, something about, oh my gosh, there's so much more money for treatment now. It's a 21st century approach. We're moving forward. More money for treatment. This is the new way, the new kinder, gentler drug war. No more lock 'em up mentality. The drug war is over. Kinder, gentler treatment. Yay! So, being that it was coming from Kevin Sabet, I knew it was completely full of shit and decided to look it up for myself. So I looked up the whitehouse.gov press release on this, and here's how they're trumpeting this. They're saying, most notably, the president's budget includes a request for an increase of $1.5 billion over the fiscal year 2012 level to fund drug treatment and prevention services in America, a 16% increase over fiscal year 2012. As a result, the president's budget requests more for treatment and prevention, $10.7 billion, than for federally funded domestic drug law enforcement and incarceration, $9.6 billion. This is what a 21st century approach to drug policy looks like. So the idea here is to say, hey, we're not all about lock 'em up anymore. Look, we're putting $10 billion into treatment and prevention versus $9.6 billion into federal incarceration. So, see, more money for treatment than for incarceration. The problem is they leave out a couple of other pieces to that puzzle. For the longest time, in fact, going all the way back to the 1990s, the Office of National Drug Control Policy has listed its budgets and compared what they call supply side reductions versus demand side reductions. Supply side reductions would be interdiction, trying to go to, trying to seize drugs, trying to capture weed and coke and heroin. How much of that can we seize? And there's also international aid, the amount of money that we pay to foreign countries to do the same thing. We give international aid to Mexico, to Colombia, to all these countries to lock up their people for the use of drugs. So going to the ONDCP's own sheet on this, the federal drug control spending by function, this is table 1 in the FY 2014 budget. They show that in 2012, we had a budget that was 62.5% dedicated to supply reduction. Supply reduction would be domestic law enforcement, interdiction, and the international aid. By comparison, the fiscal year 2014 is now 58% supply reduction. So we went from spending $15.3 billion on cops and jails and trying to uproot plants in the forest. We used to spend $15.3 billion on that. Now we're going to spend $14.7 billion on that. We're going to reduce that by $600 million. Now that's a lot of money, I know, but in percentage comparison terms, we've just reduced it by 4.5%. Now that's a good thing. We are shifting more of our budgets toward demand reduction. 42% of the budget is for demand reduction, $10.6 billion. Demand reduction is what they call treatment and prevention. Now, I'll go into that in just a second. But for comparison's sake, I thought it would be interesting to see how much of a difference in drug war budgets we have from President Obama versus President Bush. And while Kevin Sabet is all excited about reducing the drug war side of the budget to 58% compared to the drug treatment side of the budget, at 58%, it is just 0.1% difference from George W. Bush's fiscal year 2004 drug war budget, which was 57.9% dedicated to the war side. And consider that George W. Bush, by the end of his first term, had brought that ratio down to 57.9% for the war side from President Clinton's all-time high of 70.7% of the drug war budget being dedicated to law enforcement, interdiction, and international aid. That's right. Bill Clinton's 2000 budget was 70% drug war. So, gosh, congratulations, Obama, for getting the drug war budget back down to where it was in George W. Bush's time. Yay. Great work. Now, let's take a look at what they are calling treatment and prevention here. In the WhiteHouse.gov press release, they point out that they are using this, let's see, it's $30 million that they're going to be giving to what they call SBIRT, short, brief, interdiction and something, something. Basically, what SBIRT is a program where if you've been sentenced by a drug court and you fail a drug test, you are immediately put into jail for a day. That's right, jail for relapse. $30 million more for the Jail for Relapse program. Yeah, that's great. Another thing that they've added, $85 million for the drug court system. You know, the drug court system that forces you to pee in a cup and forces you to choose rehab over jail. And if you mess up in rehab, you still go to jail. So yeah, I can see why Kevin Sabet's really excited about this, given that all his friends work in the rehab industry, and this just means more federal dollars coming their way. In fact, $1.5 billion of this, $1.4 billion of this drug war budget is dedicated to these kind of rehab and community rehab services. All they are doing in this kinder, gentler drug war is shifting the flow of young, mostly black and brown men from prison industries into drug testing and rehab industries. And none of us are fooled by this, Kevin. You can shift the numbers all you like, but it always comes down to this. Either we punish people for smoking pot, or we accept that people smoke pot. Speaking of people smoking pot,
I accept it.
Do you accept it? Do we all accept it?
I think we can.
We're all in favor. Everybody in the chat room? All good? Sweet. Enjoy yourself. We'll be right back.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man.